At some point, most of us have experienced it without realizing there was a name for it. You open your phone to check a single notification, and before you know it, minutes turn into an hour. The headlines keep getting heavier, the updates keep coming, and even when you start to feel tired, anxious, or mentally drained, you keep scrolling anyway. This habit became especially visible during major global crises, but it didn't fade when those moments passed. Instead, it quietly became part of everyday life, shaped by constant access to news and endless digital feeds. So today we're asking the question at the center of it all. What exactly is doom scrolling? Why does it feel so hard to stop? And what effect does it really have on us over time? Let's dive in, right here, on History of Simple Things. Doom scrolling refers to the habit of continuously consuming large amounts of negative news or distressing content online, often through social media feeds or news apps, even when it causes emotional discomfort. The term combines the words doom, suggesting impending disaster, and scrolling, the physical action of moving endlessly through digital content. While people have always consumed bad news, doom scrolling is different because of its scale, speed, and persistence. The term gained widespread use around 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic, when many people found themselves compulsively refreshing news feeds for updates about infection rates, lockdowns, and global uncertainty. However, psychologists note that the behavior existed long before the word did. Doom scrolling doesn't require a crisis to happen. It thrives in environments where negative information is constantly available, algorithmically promoted, and easy to access at any hour of the day. Doom scrolling is not a personal failure or a lack of self-control. It is closely tied to how the human brain evolved. From a survival standpoint, humans are wired to pay more attention to threats than to neutral or positive information, a tendency known as negativity bias. Early humans who noticed danger quickly were more likely to survive, and that instinct still exists today, even though the threats are often abstract rather than physical. When we encounter alarming headlines or emotionally charged posts, the brain treats them as important signals that demand attention. Neurochemical responses, including the release of dopamine during information seeking and cortisol during stress, can create a feedback loop that keeps us engaged. Each scroll promises new information that might help us feel prepared, informed, or in control, even when the outcome is increased anxiety rather than clarity. Modern doom scrolling is deeply connected to the way digital platforms are designed. Social media algorithms prioritize content that generates strong emotional reactions because engagement keeps users on the platform longer. Research consistently shows that posts triggering anger, fear, or outrage receive more interaction than calm or neutral content. As a result, once someone interacts with negative news, the algorithm often responds by delivering even more of it. This creates an environment where bad news feels constant and unavoidable, even if it represents only a fraction of reality. Unlike traditional news sources with clear beginnings and endings, social media feeds are infinite, removing natural stopping points. Without those boundaries, users can easily lose track of time, scrolling through distressing content long after it has stopped being informative or useful. Frequent doom scrolling has been linked to increased stress, anxiety, and feelings of helplessness. Studies published in psychology and behavioral science journals suggest that prolonged exposure to negative news can heighten perceived threat levels. even when individuals are not personally affected by the events they are reading about. This constant sense of crisis can disrupt sleep, reduce concentration, and contribute to emotional exhaustion. Over time, people may begin to feel numb or detached, a response known as emotional desensitization. Others experience the opposite effect, becoming more irritable, fearful, or pessimistic. Importantly, doom scrolling does not typically lead to better understanding or preparedness. Instead, it often leaves people feeling less capable of coping, despite having consumed large amounts of information. One reason doom scrolling is hard to recognize is that it often feels like responsibility. Staying informed is generally a good habit, but the difference lies in intention and outcome. Being informed means seeking reliable information, understanding it, and then disengaging. Doom scrolling is compulsive, emotionally draining, and adds little new understanding over time. Psychologists note that when people keep consuming news despite feeling more anxious or unfocused, it has shifted from awareness into a stress-driven behavior shaped by digital environments. If left unchecked, doom scrolling can gradually shape how people see the world. Constant exposure to negative content can make reality feel more dangerous than it actually is, reducing trust and increasing isolation. Over time, it can replace healthier coping habits by offering easy stimulation, weakening attention spans, and making offline activities feel less engaging. While doom scrolling doesn't directly cause mental illness, it can worsen existing conditions and contribute to long-term stress. Doom scrolling is more than a modern buzzword. It reflects how human psychology interacts with constant digital information. Shaped by evolutionary instincts and reinforced by algorithms, it often starts as staying informed, but can slowly harm emotional well-being and distort perspective. Understanding why doom scrolling happens is the first step toward regaining control of our attention. In a world where bad news is always one swipe away, awareness helps us choose when to engage and when to step back. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.